Hi everyone, my name is Kumbirai Takawira. I am doing BSc Agricultural Economics at the University of Fort Worth. So today I will be presenting on a core talk on biodiversity and food webs. So on the hierarchy of models, we are on stage 5, where we have added life into our Earth planet. So in the previous talk on photosynthesis, we have realized that cyanobacteria was actually able to utilize cyanide energy to make energy. So does that mean Earth becomes habitable? It's obviously no. We need to add more than just one species on our Earth. So a variety of those species on Earth planet forms what we call biodiversity. So today I'm going to start by explaining what is biodiversity, which means a variety of life on Earth. And we're also going to state the ways in which we can define it. That is, we can define it biodiversity in form of species, genetic, and ecosystem, and also the ways that we can use to measure biodiversity, that is alpha, beta, and gamma diversity. Also, we're going to come to discuss on the threats to biodiversity and also the method that we can use to conserve biodiversity, be it in situ or ex situ method. And we're also going to discuss on the food webs and their importance. Lastly, we're going to showcase why South Africa is special and attractive in terms of biodiversity. So, biodiversity is a combination of two scientific words, that is bio, which means life, and diversity, which means variety. So, biodiversity means variety of life on Earth. So, it can be explained in three ways, that is species, genetic, and ecosystem diversity. So on genetic diversity, we realize that it's diversity of individuals that possess different genes. Here in the first picture, we have got human beings that do possess different types of genes. That's why they have got different skin pigments. We have got a white guy, black guy, among other traits of human being. Here we also have these seeds from pulses and grains. They have got different shapes and color because they do possess different types of genes. We have also species diversity, which is number of species and abundance of each species that live in a particular location. For example, here we have got rhinos. They have got different colors because they do possess different types of genes. For example, we have got the black rhino, the Indian rhino, the white rhino, among other species of rhino. We have also the ecosystem diversity, which is the variation in ecosystem that is found in a region. For example, we have got the marine ecosystem, the grassland ecosystem, desert, and the forest. Yes, diversity can be measured, and it can be measured in three ways. And the first one is alpha, beta, gamma diversity. So what do we mean when we say we have alpha diversity? It measures the biodiversity or the amount of species on a particular location. For example, here we've got these three sites: site A, site B, and site C. So when we are talking about alpha diversity, we are referring to a particular location or a particular point. For example, point C, or a point B, or a point A. But when it comes to beta diversity, we are comparing the biodiversity of two locations. For example, site A against site B, or site C against site A. But when it comes to gamma diversity, we are referring to the biodiversity of the whole area, of the whole region. For example, we have got these sites A, B, and C. What it means is that we are referring to the biodiversity of the whole region. Yes, in the ecosystem there is interconnectivity and interdependence, and it forms part of us understanding why the Earth is actually habitable. Why? And this interdependence and interconnectivity can be shown or illustrated using the food chains. And these food chains, if we combine various food chains, they give us what we call a food web, which is a complex one. So with our explanation, food webs are a connection of food chains. So I shall start by explaining this food chain. Here we have got the sunlight, which supplies sunlight energy to the green plants. And these green plants are able to manufacture their own food. and they're being consumed by the grasshopper, which becomes our primary consumer. And the grasshopper is being consumed by the frog, that is the secondary consumer, and the snake too consumes the frog, and the snake is being consumed by the egg, and the egg eventually dies and being decomposed by these decomposers, and it's a cycle, and it continues like that. So if we take various food chains like this one, and we assume that we have other food chains, and to combine them, they give us what you call the food web. And here is our food web. Here on the base we have got green plants that are actually able to manufacture their own food. Here we have got the corn that is being consumed by the grasshopper, and a grasshopper can be consumed by what? By a rat or a frog, and a frog can be consumed by what? By a snake, and a snake can be consumed by an eagle. Here we have got a mango fly. We have got a mango that is being consumed by a fruit fly. A fruit fly can be consumed by a dragonfly or a bird, and it shows that there is interdependence. Other organisms depend on other organisms for their survival, and there is transfer of energy within the ecosystem. So, having illustrated this interdependence within the ecosystem, yes, we can realize that there are importance that are derived from the food webs. For example, ecological stability, which can be achieved through resilience, that is the ability to recover quickly after environmental shock. For example, we are having drought, that is environmental shock. So those food webs, they make sure that the ecosystem recovers as quickly as possible. For example, let's say here the grasshopper has been affected. It means that still the snake can still exist by depending on the rat and the frog. Hence, the ecosystem continues to function. We have also resistance, the ability to refuse displacement during an environmental stress. For example, we are having floods, which is an environmental stress. But these food webs, they make sure that the ecosystem remains at their original state without displacement. Yes, there are usefulness of the biodiversity, or their importances to us. For example, we have got the economic value. That is, we have got various plants, we have got various animals, we have got various places that do attract tourists. When they came from Britain and America, they are going to pay using their foreign currency. And the foreign currency is much needed in our economy. It's needed to drive the economy. Hence, we realize an improvement in the economy, that is the gross domestic product. For example, also we have got ecological value. That is, the biodiversity makes sure that there is ecological stability. Scientific value. We have got university students, various institutions in South Africa who are carrying out their researches, be it in medicine, be it in biochemistry, among other things. They use plants and animals to carry their researches. For example, micro or macroorganisms. So, biodiversity also assists scientists in carrying out their researches. We have also recreational values. That is, during the holidays or the weekends, people who go to various places, be it the Table Mountains, be it the Durban beaches, among tourist attractive areas. So it's needed for them to refresh. However, despite all these benefits, or despite all these good things that are being brought by the biodiversity, but it is being threatened. We have habitat destruction. For example, the outbreak of fire that actually happened in Australia, where many parts of Australia has been destroyed. So, like Melbourne, Victoria, Petermans Bay, Sydney, among other places. We have also outbreak of animal diseases, like foot and mouth, anthrax. We have got also the outbreak of crop diseases, like those that are caused by fungal, those are caused by bacteria, those are caused by viruses. What does that mean? It means that if there is outbreak of diseases, people are going to have shortage of food. Hence, we realize an instability within the economy. We have got alien invasive species. These species, they do occupy aquatic places, and they consume a lot of oxygen. Eventually, the aquatic life is being affected, And for example, the fish is going to die because they do not have space and oxygen. We also have climate change. The climate change has caused droughts in South Africa, and hence we realize water shortages in some parts of South Africa, especially Cape Town. However, should we fold hands while the biodiversity is being threatened? Obviously no. We have to come up with strategies to solve a problem. For example, we have got various organizations that found it fit for them to conserve biodiversity. The first one, we have got WWF, World Fund for Nature, that is currently in the program of planting trees using drones. We have got UNEP, United Nations Environmental Protection, that do protect biodiversity using legislation. We have got also CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, that makes sure those animals that are at danger of extinction, for example the rhinos and the elephants, are not killed, are not traded. We also have the in situ and ex situ method of conserving biodiversity. What do we mean when we say we have got in situ method? That is, we conserve biodiversity or plants and animals within their natural habitats. For example, the national parks, the wildlife sanctuaries, the biosphere. But when it comes to ex situ methods, we are conserving biodiversity outside their natural environment. For example, let's take this room is the natural environment. We have to take animals, plants outside their natural environment, then we conserve it out there. So this includes zoological parks, botanical gardens, sperm bank, and gene banks. However, South Africa is very special in terms of biodiversity because it is the third most diverse country in the world, according to South Africa National Biodiversity Institute, SANBI. And it has got many beautiful areas that actually attracts tourists. Here is our King Protea plant, which do attracts tourists. It has got 3 out of 35 biodiversity hotspots. For example, the first one is the Cape Floral region, that is found in the Western Cape. And we have got the Succulent Karoo, that is found in some parts of Northern Cape. We have Maputo Land, Pondo Land, that is found in the Eastern Cape. Therefore, we have the Namakwa Land, that our floral kingdom, where we have various types of flowers. We also have the Kruger National Park, that is the oldest national park in South Africa. It's about 20,000 square kilometers. Its size is compared to that of Israel or the state of New Jersey. And it's a place, the best place where you can see the big five. That is the elephant, the buffalo, the rhino, the cheetah, among other animals. Thus, to round off, we have been discussing from the definition of biodiversity, the ways which we can define biodiversity, that is the genes, species, and ecosystem. We also talked on the threats to biodiversity, the food webs and their importances, the in situ and ex situ method of conserving biodiversity. And lastly, we discussed on why South Africa is special in terms of biodiversity. But does that mean that Earth is now habitable? But you agree with me that unlike sunlight, nutrients are finite. They can get depleted. So they need to be recycled. So stay tuned for the next talk on biogeochemical cycles.